Hey, good evening to you.
Hi, Priyanka.
How are you today?
Wonderful, absolutely fabulous.
And it's the Thursday today, and it's the OYF show, and it's talking about my favorite piece of line, which I've used so many times now. But welcome to the Own Your Future show, a space that is being built for you, so you always have somebody to turn to. Conversations, power nuggets, studies, insights, toolkits, learning management system, and a lot more. Rajiv, can we start with the power nugget, please?
Sure, Priyanka. Well, coming to the power nugget for us to sort of ponder about and think about, well, we always have a choice. And I think that's something which all of us know, but I thought I'll just spend a few minutes on that. And when we have a choice, I think it leads us to be able to really figure out and say who we are and what we become are always based on the choices we make. Whether we are in corporate, whether we want to become an entrepreneur, whether we want to become a solopreneur. The fact is that we are the ones who can make a choice, and we are the ones who choose our present, our future, and where we want to go. So take control on it and own your future. And I think that's what we're going to be talking about, how our guest today has really taken her future in her own hands and moved herself from unplugging from corporate into opening up a new chapter of her life to awaken herself to become a new you. We'll talk about it after a short video, and then we'll start the show by introducing a lovely guest all the way from Turkey. Hi, and welcome to the OYF Show. And to all our viewers today who are going to be watching it now live or watching it later, we have today on our show Anne De Silva, who's joining us from Istanbul, a wonderful person who I've known for many years, but today I've met her after a long time. And here she is. And interestingly, a brief introduction about her. Uh, she's been a successful career woman in the corporate world. She is a successful woman, and more importantly, a beautiful human being who now happens to be an amazing best selling author. So, who better can actually be with us today to take us through the journey of unplugging corporate, awakening to a new you, and taking control of our own future and describing to us how the journey has been? Welcome, Anne, and thanks for taking our time to join us today.
Thank you so much, Rajiv. Thank you so much. Firstly, I'm so honored that we've connected after so many years. We worked for an organization which was Tata Teleservices together. And at that time, you were an inspiration. And today, you're living that inspiration as a real life. So, firstly, congratulations to you. Secondly, I think your show is absolutely amazing. What you're doing is you are broadening the whole perspective for people to see different options, different experiences of different people in their lives and how they own their lives. And that's the most important part. And a big hello to you, Priyanka. We're meeting the first time today, but I'm pleased to meet you. And yes, Rajiv, I'm happy to be on your show and I'm happy to be with a friend and share my journey.
I'm so grateful. Thanks for your kind words as always. Well, as we start a conversation, and I think, as you said, it's about sharing our experiences of life, sharing our real stories. Let's begin with you talking to us about your journey of unplugging from corporate. What was it
Okay.
like, and what's it been through in the earlier parts of your life of unplugging from corporate? And then we'll take the conversation from there on.
Sure.
Over to
So
you.
I was a born Delhi girl, and then the family moved to Mumbai. And then I was in my 20s. And the rush in India in your 20s is to get stable. So, we all have these passions in us, things that make us, wake up in the morning and say, this is who I am. Or when you're meditating, you get that, universal connection and frequency telling you this is your path. But reality bites you. And then you've got to just do the run like everybody else. And so I did. I love talking. I love writing. Since I was a child, I kept a journal. And I always, for me, I think I speak better in poetry. But, in the corporate world, the job I got was corporate alliances and PR and corporate communications because you're great at talking. But I felt that I had a beautiful run professionally. I had some fabulous mentors, including yourself. You were such an inspiring senior when I was working with you. So these people, men and women, always encouraged the spirit in me, to do more. And so I had a great 2.5 decades in the corporate world. And my last stint as global head of alliances with the Sahara group of companies was fabulous. I mean, I loved traveling. I worked in telecom, travel, banking, and last with the Sahara group. And then unfortunately, the universe said, this is your pause moment. And we all have that pause moment. Either we go back to the run and say, okay, no, I'm ignoring this. Or you say that maybe the universe is trying to egg you to go somewhere else. And for me, I took that moment seriously. And I said that, I've done the things I needed to do. I'm financially stable. I've earned the respect of my seniors and my peers and everybody else. I have made a difference in value creation in my portfolios and relationships with people. Now it is time to focus on me. And that was a little scary question, focus on me. Because you must realize, Rajiv, that when we do these 20 years and 10 years or 25 years, our age is also advancing. And as your age advances, your fears advance. And then you say that I have this routine, which is perfect. There's no flaw in it. I mean, I can pursue it as a hobby. Why do the shift? And that scary question was what I pondered on for a long time. And I said that I think that 40s is not when you take the back seat, but 40s is to put the car in the fourth gear. And that's when I said, no, I'm going to do this because I've always wanted to. So I think that was my moment of wanting to contemplate the shift. And the shift, as we talk further in the show, I will share with you how the shift took me on.
Well, that's quite fascinating. And I like the way you say fourth year 40s. And very interestingly, just before Priyanka, you come in with your comments and thoughts on this, is if you look at what's happening in India today, and yesterday only, the IPO of Nykaa, a company which probably was founded and probably the first women leader who's founded a company and probably the first billionaire of her own generation, right? She started a company at the age of 50. So
absolutely,
what you're saying is that as long as you are determined, as long as you have your heart and your soul and your ambition in the right place, start lines can begin where you want it to begin.
Absolutely.
So I think what he said is so beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. Over to you, Priyanka.
So there are lots of things that I picked up from your little introduction, and thank you for sharing that little sneak peek into the world that it has been so far. But what about it would you change is what I would want to know before we get on to knowing more about the world that it has been.
So I don't think there is anything I would want to change about me, but I would really appreciate the change in time and society that has happened. When we were born in the 70s, everyone wanted to become engineers, doctors, MBAs. There was no careers like a hairstylist or an author or whatever. You were a journalist, that's great. But if you said I wanted to be an author, or I just wanted to pursue singing, that was not a career choice a person could take. Society has changed because people like us, all of us have become parents and all of that. And we have known that we didn't have those options when we were growing up. We had very, so to say, compartmentalized train we were in, which said that if you finished your management, you'd go into banking. If you finished your this, you become an engineer, you become a doctor. So that's the fixation of society. Society put us in a mold. And what's happening is the sculpture is broken out of the mold, in today's time. where the options are many. So I feel the younger generation are blessed with that. They have parents who understand that they want something different from what their parents wanted from them. So as an individual, I don't think I want to change anything, because I was a risk taker when I was a child. I was a little bit on the wild side, and I still am. And I don't think age is ever going to change that. But the fact is that I live in a society today which appreciates the wildness, the risk taking in a woman. The woman can be the front runner for an organization. But when I was starting my career at that time, senior management was mostly men. And your mother said, okay, great, you're a manager, and that's where as far as you go. I mean, not my mother. My mother always believed and taught me that the sky's the limit. As much as you have the capacity, live your dreams, because you have only one life. And I always tell her that, Mom, if it wasn't for you, I mean, I would have been just one amongst the many who are still stuck in that mold.
Interesting. So I think something that comes across very strongly in your community, in your story, is the fact that, not the fact that we're talking about women, but something that you said was interesting, where you said it's about the pause button and actually taking that chance to step away.
Yeah.
And I think, and something about what you just said, which I have a slightly different take on, but I'd still take the moment and share it, is that I think we've come in that generation where I don't know what was happening when my mom was my age, or my mom was young, but she grew up to, really spend for the family. And I grew up to spend for myself.
Absolutely.
And maybe this, my daughter, she will grow up to be her person, but she'll have a larger sky to fly in. So
Absolutely.
my mom's mom was educated, maybe one of the only ladies educated in that time. Then she brought her daughters up to be more educated, and they were able to spread their wings, but only so far. With a stronger backing of a generation which had already invested in education and educating their daughters, I think the next generation that we bring up would be having a much, much larger sky to fly.
Absolutely, and that also comes with the times that changed, because in the early 90s, the MTV era happened. What was like before MTV? There was Doordarshan. I mean, what was your choice at that time? So we are going from a generation which had one and two choices to a generation that has a zillion of opportunities. Like today, for example, this conversation 25 years ago could never have happened. I mean, when we got out of college, we connected with our friends through Facebook when Facebook happened. And we're talking in the 90s when the first email went out, and you say, oh, these things also happen. And earlier times when your picture was circulated somewhere, your parents would get angry with you, like, how come your pictures are around? Today there's Instagram, and every day people are putting pictures,
and your mom's putting a picture too.
Exactly. And the mindset has changed. It's not like, oh my god, the girl's putting a picture up. It's everybody's doing that, because this is the beauty of when you open the doors. As long as you're behind the doors and the door is shut, everybody has this inhibition and fear what is beyond the door. But trust me, we have to go through that fear to actually see what's beyond that. And that's what sitting on the fence or taking that decision, owning your life, this beautiful show has this name, owning your future, and saying that I believe in this and I want to do it. We have that opportunity today to do it.
Yeah, I really like what both of you were just talking about. And I think so there's one common thread coming there. One which talks about the fact that the generational shift and what opportunities open up through that.
Yeah.
And I think both the landscape of the sky is actually changing, both from a point of view of it getting that much more closer for people, whether it's men, women, or young girls or young boys, to explore possibilities because of the options that are opening up. And more importantly, I think so, is the fact that the recognition of the fact that every individual must be allowed to make their own choices.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a huge difference that is coming away. And Priyanka, you spoke about the three generations, right? One thing that is different in all of them is the degree of self-empowerment that moved from one generation to the next to the next. And
Yeah.
with that self-empowerment, the only word of caution that I have for anybody who looks at that is there comes a sense of responsibility
Right.
and a sense of
Absolutely.
self
Yeah.
accountability. I think what
Mm.
people miss out on is saying, well, it's great to have information, it's great to
Mhm.
have a lot of knowledge, it's great to have all possibilities of options. But what people forget is that there has to be that sense of responsibility and accountability, which
Mhm.
will probably churn out better human beings, more conscious citizens, and hopefully the world will become a better place because people start respecting and accepting each other for who they are. I know it's a
Yeah.
long shot, but I
Yeah.
think somewhere you have to make that beginning.
Absolutely. And Rajiv, I want to add to what you're saying. Our grandmothers and mothers lived in a generation of I wish. We are living in a generation of I can. So we're more action oriented, and the next generation that comes, not only they will, but they will further impact society with actions because, everyone has dreams. But what do you do about those dreams? I mean, they can just be latent in your mind and stay there forever, or you have to act on it. Unless there's an action to a thought, it's just a thought. So
Yeah,
there are some
absolutely.
amazingly creative people everywhere in this professional world, but they're pursuing something else, because that's safe. they,
Yeah,
they,
no, I
they,
think
they don't
that's
want
true.
to go
That's
on
true.
the other
I
zone.
agree. I
Yeah.
think that's safe as a word, and I think with that comes a very interesting thought. And just picking on what you just said, it's safe. What really got you to writing? Because as you said, people don't think
Yeah.
it's safe, right? So
No.
what triggered that you wanted to become a writer and you got to that? So how did that journey begin for you? And what's
Yeah.
what's inspired you? What motivated you?
So I actually started a blog a very long time ago, I think some 20 years ago, and then I stopped it. And it was actually picked up by College Times, and they saw the kind of stuff I was writing. It was motivating people, it was giving people thought-provoking thoughts and stuff like that. So they released a lot of my articles. And people told me it was good. I didn't know. I just wrote it because I was very touched and inspired by that subject. And so when I said that, writing comes to me easy, what we have to understand is whatever we are best at comes effortlessly to us. You don't have to put in an effort for it because you're best. That is your unique talent. That's your USP. That is who you are. There is no training required. There's nothing. The universe has given every single unique person a unique gift. So for me, my unique gift was writing. And like I told you about poetry, when I was a child, I had this habit of rhyming my sentences and talking all the time. And because my grandmother, my mother's mother, was an artist from JJ School of Arts, she used to tell my mom, give her a journal. Don't waste your rhymes, So I have some of those books, which my brother thought was a waste of paper, which eventually I did utilize a lot of my stuff, which I'd collected, which I always encourage people, keep a journal. Because, a moment, a thought that comes to you and you've penned it down, 10 years later, you can look back about how you've progressed. Do you still think the same way? Or is it a different, or is it a eureka idea that you have penned, which you can work on? But if you've not penned it, you've just like allowed it to pass you by. So this whole writing it down, journaling it, putting it on post-its was my passion for years. And I knew this was my calling. So for me, I knew that once I took a sabbatical from the corporate world, writing was what I wanted to write about. I mean, that was my profession I wanted to have.
And that makes the two of us. And why I'm smiling year to year is because I too have a journal from younger days. And
Very good.
interestingly, they don't embarrass me. Like when
Yeah.
my kids found it a few days back,
Yeah.
it was not embarrassing. It was perfectly okay for them to read what I had
Yeah.
written. And I still liked what I wrote, maybe when I was, 12 years?
And that age is beautiful, Priyanka, because at that age there are no inhibitions. After a
Yeah.
while, you come to an age where you seek validation and what you're writing should be appreciated or whatever. When you're a
Yes.
kid, you look back, you're just free. You're just writing it
Yeah.
from your soul.
Yeah, and what I wrote, I still like it. Like I still like it. I must have written whatever I wrote, which I still like it.
Yeah,
So
it's
what's your
wonderful.
journey to? So what's your journey to how you choose, say, topic, or
Turkey.
when you're
Yeah.
writing your book, or like how do you choose that central? What do you call it, plot, or what do you like to call it first of all?
So basically, when I took my collection of my journals and my poetry, I'm a die-hard optimist one. I mean, I cannot be upset about things beyond a week. So that's my driving force. I mean, I wake up and I wake up happy, and so I'm also a die-hard romantic person. So I wanted my first series to be on love because I have very special thoughts about love. One is amorous love between two people. Then there's also spiritual love, which takes us closer to the higher in us. And then there is love, the true context of love, which is the benefit for entirety of society, where everybody is included, and if you see, spirituality today has taken a real big climb. Everybody talks about inclusion, everybody talks about our souls being without names or genders or locations or races or ethnicities or whatever. It's more inclusive and it's more holistic, and it's more a connection with the energy in the universe that we live in. So I wanted to create this series, and of course I traveled to Turkey in 2016, and I was completely blown by this country. At that time, I was still doing a few odd consulting jobs, but I started seeing the similarity of the culture between Turkey and India. And I'm an Indian, so I know my country very well. And, I wanted to utilize all of that content to make a niche for myself. There are many authors, there are romance authors, there are horror authors, there are thriller authors, and so on and so forth. I wanted to create a niche for myself as a travel author. I wanted people to have an experience of a country holistically, not like how they say in terms of the places in a country, but the language, the food, the music, the theater, the holistic experience. If somebody never travels to Turkey and reads my two books, they will actually understand the Turkish language because there's a glossary. They will understand places from a poetic way of how I see it. And they will also know how to make the recipe of a few dishes which are Turkish. And they will also understand the ethos of this land, which was many people ruled it. Like, for example, Istanbul was Constantinople. So where did it come from? What was the journey? What did the land, what did nature say to us? So I wanted to use this from a spiritual perspective, and that's how I created this book. And when I created the first one, I realized that it can't be 900 pages. That's too much. So I made it into a series. And I must also tell you a little bit about the series. It's called Sand and Sea, which is Kum ve Deniz in Turkish. And sand and sea is like, the earth, and water is human beings. If you read the old Semitic religions and stuff like that, they talk about thou art dust, and to dust thou shalt return. And in our body, there is water. So we are always connected to the sand and the sea, which are eternal lovers. You can never separate them. Only in low tide, the sea goes only that much away, but she returns back. So it's a very romantic connotation that love was created when God created the universe with the sand and the sea. So we are surrounded by the water. And if you see that, if the whole surrounding of the water is pretty much like the feminine body. When you're pregnant, the child is within you. So the waters surround the land that we live in. So Mother Nature is always going to be with us.
You have to have walked that path for very long to be able to be so articulate about something so deep and something so mystical.
Yeah, I'm a bit philosophical like Rajiv, I mean, whenever I sit, I ponder on these bigger things in life. And I feel that when we look at that, irrelevant of religion, the rain falls for everyone. The water is for
Right.
everyone, nature is for everyone. It is only ego that divides people. It's not love.
Interesting. Yeah.
True, true. And I think it's so fascinating to hear uh, your journey, your inspiration, your self drive, if I was to use this word here, to
Um,
follow your passion and your dream.
yeah,
I think, and you know what comes out of this is that, as you said, that every unique human being has a unique gift. That
absolutely.
unique gift is something for us to explore, imagine, discover,
Hmm.
uncover, and then find ways to figure out what you want to do with it.
Yeah,
And those who do that, uh, they believe that they have achieved what they came in this universe for. The rest
absolutely.
continue to struggle, and I think that's
Yes.
that's the real difference of what it is. I'm just sort of responding to the philosophical
Perfect.
side of me that you triggered off, and
Perfectly
and
said.
I,
Perfectly said, Rajiv. It is the unlearning, because we have got into the conditioning. Now we have to get out of the conditioning. It's the unlearning that has to happen.
no, and to tell you very honestly, I've been reflecting on my own journey and my own life, and
Yeah.
somebody I was talking to about 2 3 weeks back, and they said, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm looking for my start line." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Yes, I'm actually looking for my start line, because for me, the next 2 decades are going to be the best for me once I find my start line." So,
Absolutely.
so what I'm doing is, uh, what you said is unlearning. I'm saying I'm just decluttering myself, and I'm looking for that start line. And let me tell you one thing: the day I find that start line, nothing's going to stop me. Like nothing has
It's
stopped me ever in the
beautiful.
beginning. So that's where it is at this point in time.
Beautiful,
So
beautiful. And I
that's
think that's the most beautiful thing that you have said for yourself, because I think every person deserves to be alive. And when you find that start line, it's when you are actually being alive. Otherwise, we are in routines, we are, in people's expectations, we are in the zones of validation, and so on and so forth. When you find that start line, is actually finding and embracing the inner you, or the inner child, or the inner adult, or whatever you call it, and saying, okay, I venerate to you, I'm listening to you, now you tell me what I'm going to do. And then there's no stopping you. It's a
absolutely,
cycle
absolutely
that
true.
cannot be
And
stopped.
yeah, and we've got some absolutely amazing people chiming in today. We got Tiger, we've got Justice, and we've got Martin all the way from US. He's a great friend, and I think he was one of our shows also. So
Yeah,
thanks, gentlemen, for joining in and being part of this journey of learning from each other out here.
yeah,
So
yeah,
thanks again for being here. Uh, I think one part of life that all of us have faced with, and I think that's something that's impacted everybody, each one
hmm,
of us. Uh,
yes,
that is the pandemic. And I use the word
mm,
pandemic with the sense of caution here, not from the negativity point of view or the positivity point of view, because it's impacted everybody.
hmm,
I just want to hear from you in your own experience. And you spoke about getting describing your writing in a very interesting way of saying, how can you combine romance, experience of a city, experience of a country, and get into travel writing, right?
yeah,
So that somebody could experience it through your expressions, through your books, through your writings, through your work. That's so beautiful, actually, and it's something which sort of resonates with a lot of people. And so you're actually trying to create virtual reality through your expressions. That's the
yeah,
closest that I can think of, right? And that's probably
yeah,
what it is.
yeah.
What's the pandemic really done to your journey through this process, both your writing, the experiences that your followers have had, experiences that your readers have had? Any comments on that? Any
Yeah.
insights, any lessons from that you want to share?
So I think first I will tell you the philosophical view of the pandemic. Whenever we have abused nature, whenever we have hurt nature, whenever we have been disrespectful to nature, nature is a force to reckon with, and she will always correct us like mothers do. So this pandemic is a result of that. It's an alarm button going on saying that if you are disrespectful to nature, nature is going to correct your course. So from a philosophical point, which is also a part of my second book and the third book, this is very significant. Respect to nature. Because humanity has something in us which you could call as original sin or an inherent weakness or whatever, and that is greed. Everybody wants more. When nature's saying that I'm here to provide for everybody, just take as much as you want. Nobody does that, So these corrections have to keep coming. These pandemics or tsunamis or whatever, these corrections, course corrections, have to come as an alert for humanity to take notice that you cannot disrespect nature. She's too strong. It's like you can never be smarter than your mother or father because they have given you life. I mean, you may be very smart with your degrees or whatever, but the wisdom that they carry is beyond you, because they are your maker. And so is nature. She's the one who provides for humanity. So whenever you disrespect her, she'll always give you a course correction. And so during Corona, for me as a writer, it was the best time. I got time. If when people talk negatively, I said no. For me, it was the best time of writing. I did 2 books this year. I completed the second one of my series, which is called Child of Two Worlds, and I came out with an empowerment, woman-oriented poem book called Verses of a Risen Phoenix. So yes, the pandemic can be seen in 2 ways. It has also taught us that we have to reduce the excesses in our life. Like, we all have excesses. I mean, just go to anybody's wardrobe. At this given point in time, we only need one pair of clothes. But there is an excess of everything in our life, whether it's groceries, whether it's clothes, or whether it is, cars or, luxury, opulence, and, what have you. So this whole excess concept has taught us that this excess is not going to pay our bills. We have to be responsible during this time. We have to prioritize during this time. And we have to learn to respect nature, not to forget that once the pandemic is over, we go crazy. And this book also of mine has become a bestseller because when people were at home, what were they doing? Either Netflix or reading books, Because you couldn't go to your relatives, have your parties, and have that busy time. You actually could know your friend truly, the people who called you, your family truly, because you got time for them. You were restricted in and confined in an area to be with people and to be off technology except to connect with people or do your work.
So I have a different take on how you present your work. And I want to talk about social media, I want to talk about digital media, and I want to talk about how is that impacting our worlds. So I know there's an instance that you want to share. I'll bring that
Yes.
up shortly. But
Thank
on the
you.
positive side, how has digital as a medium, or how have you leveraged that as a medium, and is it a good thing for you?
I think technology is a blessing, really a blessing. We are here because of technology. Again, it goes back to what Rajiv said: choices and accountability. What do you do with technology? You can use technology to take your message and impact millions, like how I was doing for my social causes on women's stigmas, women empowerment, women's rights, etc. And you can do the reverse of that, like the hackers did, hack somebody's account, bribe them, get money, or go and see illicit and so to say, good stuff on the internet as well. So social media is a very powerful tool. But that powerful tool in the hand of an irresponsible person or a person with an evil intent will have an evil reaction. Again, back to Rajiv's thing of accountability. I mean, if somebody is going to choose a wrong path, you're going to go the wrong way. But if you're going to use it to benefit society, to take your message to a larger audience, the digital platform, the social media platform, is is the future, is the present, actually, is the present that we live in, because we connect with so many people. And, this whole motivational messages, like Rajiv always puts exciting and very motivational stuff on LinkedIn. People need that. When you're low and you're depressed, you sometimes, like how you have The Secret. Why do people go through this? This is the positive affirmations. The universe needs the light. People need the light. We cannot live in darkness. Even if I've had one bad experience on Instagram, it's not going to take me away from Instagram. It's just going to teach me something that, and everyone's not good. Don't trust everybody. Even if it says Instagram, till they don't send you a notice, don't take notice of them, because people are actually impersonating people. And they're not happy with their core self, who they are, and there are people who are cloning people's accounts. There are people who are impersonating people and making additional accounts. There are a lot of bad stuff happening, but that is a very small percentage compared to the light that is there in this world. So, there's always risk, and risk percentage is not so big. It's a small percentage. We have to be conscious about what we're doing, mindful about what we're doing, and as Rajiv said, accountable for what we're doing, and take responsibility.
I think it's a very, very interesting point that you bring out about the responsibility associated with social media, as much it is with life, and like what we spoke about with the generational shift, with more opportunities, more information, more possibilities that are opening up.
Yeah.
In the same proportion, the accountability and the responsibility also grows. And what you mentioned just now is a very clear reflection of that, of how people need to be that much more responsible and be wary of the fact that the real world of social media has all types of instances, all types of situations which need to be dealt with.
Yeah.
And as responsible users that we all are, we must be wary of it, we must be conscious of it, and we must take cognizance of whatever is happening around us.
I think
And
it's more of...
sorry, one more thing, Rajiv, to add to yours. And we also have to be brave enough to talk about these bad things, because when you tell this, you're helping many more people to be aware. People's accounts getting hacked, etc. When they hear people talk about their stuff, companies like Instagram and Facebook are going to go and do a due diligence of what are these issues and how do we resolve them. Plus, people are going to get aware of it and be more careful. That these things are happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's also like a reflection. Yeah, what I was wanting to say is that it's also a reflection of the society who we are. Only that because it's on digital and there is a tracker at the back, and if things go wrong with you, things go wrong. But things do go wrong even if it was not the internet. The point is that when you have your digital avatars getting hurt, you realize that it does hurt, and there is finality and fatality to that. There's physical disruption to that event.
Yes, so, and not only that, Priyanka, but I'll also like to add here one more thing, that on a digital platform, you have followers and you are responsible for your friends and your dignitaries and celebrities. Because of you, they should not get into trouble. In your personal life, if an episode happened to you, it would have happened to you or one or two people around you.
And behind the closed doors.
And behind the closed doors, it's not really, you are not going to be the one causing other people harm, So it is your responsibility also to put it out there and say, like, this has happened. So either block this account or, unfollow this account because it's not safe. You have to take that responsibility and do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
it's a monster, but it also reflects the world that we live in. It's a monster.
Yes.
It has a digital marker to that.
Yeah,
yes.
It's like everything has got pluses and minuses, right? And everything, and it's a function of who the user is, to what extent you want to make use of the positives around it. And so it's like a medicine which cures also has side effects.
Yes.
Right? And every medicine has that, by the way. So there's no medicine which does not have side effects.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I think that's the reality. I think we've got her.
That's the reality of the digital world. We also have disruptions.
Exactly.
We wait for Anne to log back in.
Yeah, but that's going back to this, Priyanka, and I think that's the reality of this world. That given the elements of what is available to you, you have to be conscious, you have to be aware about it, and act
So I
as
think what these
responsibly as you can.
conversations do is that it increases your scope, and it increases the scope of you being able to find out. You know, if you could, you can Google, but you need to know what to tap into the screen and what to type into the search bar for you to be able to fetch it out.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
No, I think
yeah,
that's true. That's exactly how this world works, and
yeah,
and we were just talking about when you went away. That's the real digital world, right? Where there are disruptions happen. You suddenly went out, you came back, and that's
yeah.
something which we are all faced
Yes,
with in this world. Coming
yeah,
back to another interesting point of your journey, Anne, is that you moved countries, right? And you
yeah.
also, while you did mention that the cultures are quite similar, but at the end of the
Hmm.
day, you relocated, you moved to another country. Now, I
Yes.
just curious to find out that did this shift impact your writing? Does it impact your choices of what you did? Was there an impact of your having moved to another country with regards to this?
Uh,
Or you
so,
would have still done it had you been in India?
so I did my first book when I was in India. I mean, Footprints in the Sand was, I traveled to Turkey, I did my research, I came back, I wrote the book, and I published it. But I think I fell in love with Turkey. And in my book, if you read, I've also written about a lot of spiritual things and also alternate therapies and so on and so forth. I've done past life regression. And in past life regression, there was a Turkish connection for me. So, I felt very connected with the land, very connected with the places. And I felt that this is home for me. And I said, okay, I'm not married, I don't have children, I don't have a 9 to 5 job, so this is perfect in 2019. I spoke to my mom, and she agreed with me that she was okay to move with me. She could have lived in India with my brother, but she said no, she'll travel with me, and we moved here. And when we moved to Turkey, the similarities, the new friendships, it helped with more for my second book writing. And I can say collaborations, it just opened the doors for me. So, I felt that taking that risk, which is a big one, to close your house down, and relocate to a new country, it's a big risk. Yes, it is. But I feel I was on the path. This would have eventually happened. If I had hesitation in 2019, it would have happened in 2020. I was sure of that.
So what are the insights, and what is it that you would like people to recall in their tough moments?
So, what I want to tell people is that there are bad experiences that happen to every single human being, but that is not a bad life. It's just an experience. And that experience is there to teach you something. Life is all about the learning and the unlearning. If you're rigid, the branch will break. But if you are like water, you will go with the flow. So that's how life has to be lived. And the fact that we also, as human beings, have this fear of losing people. But we have to understand that we came alone and we will go alone. When we were born, we had nothing. So, what is the fear of losing everything? You can make it up again. You have to deal with the inner demon and the inner insecurities, which keeps telling you in your mind, this is going to be bad for you. This experience is the last time you will fall in love, or there is no future for you at 40. Or all of that is the negativity of the society that we live in. Where they are always questioning you. But if you go to your inner peace, you will realize that we came with nothing, we will go with nothing. We came with no one, and we will go with no one, because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And if you have to have experiences, it's not a bad life, it's just an experience.
I like it when you say spiritual beings who
Yes.
have a
Spiritual
human
being,
experience.
yes,
I think it's
absolutely.
very
Because,
powerful.
and that's why we connect with some people who we do not know. I mean, at the end of the day, you meet somebody, an absolute stranger, you don't even know that person, their background, who they are. And suddenly, when you look back 5 years later, they've been the strongest friends, mentors, teachers, gurus, even your family or sisters and brothers from other mothers. How did that happen? Because the soul is very old. The body is very limited to 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, or 100 years. But the soul lives on. And when we realize that, we realize that everybody is not going to travel with us forever till the end of our destination, because that is our destination. We are going to go alone. There will be some companions, but may not be the same ones we started with. And that's a positive thought, because you're never ever going to be alone. The universe is with you all the time.
That's very beautifully said. That's very beautifully said.
Thank you.
On this experiential journey that we're all experiencing,
Yes.
and we're walking through together.
Yes.
I have a last comment that I seek of you. How has been your experience on the OYF show today?
Firstly, I think both of you have such beautiful energy that I can feel it in Istanbul. and I feel that frequency is our tribe. So both of you and I belong to the same tribe. And I think, Rajiv, I have to say this to you, and I'm not complimenting you. I'm genuinely saying this to you from my observations, from knowing you, working with you in the past, you being my senior, being a powerful person, yet always humble. You are a light bearer. And you are what you're doing here with the show is giving light to everyone else. As long as that, I think that is your starting stage, Rajiv. You are the light bearer. And you please keep this baton in your hand, because there are so many people who get motivated by what you are doing. And that's something you're too humble to take as a compliment, but this is a reality. You are factoring change. You are creating value. And what you are doing, and this show is doing, and Priyanka, you too, I've just met you, but your beautiful energy. And I feel that, we need more people. Today, we need more people to be light bearers, because life is going to be tough. But you can always count on a light bearer, because the light bearer doesn't seek anything from you monetarily. It's there to just give this light free. Like this, I always quote a hero, that a hero is not somebody who is called upon. It is his inner calling. He will come either ways, whether you call him or not, whether you say, I'm offering you something to pay you or reciproc. He doesn't seek that. The calling is important, And I think that, this show is doing this, it's a calling, and it's beautiful.
So, and you say it like that. So when we work around the concept, none of that was in our minds. Like, we decided to do what we decided to do. We decided to call it what we decided to call it. And we've had some successes along the way. But it's words like you and friends like you sitting, I don't know in which corner of the world, who come and summarize that for us. So thank you.
Yes. And I have to say this, Priyanka. Own your future is the most powerful statement, a powerful gift to give somebody and tell them, because it's so thought-provoking. Because today, ownership has to come from inside. And what is inside? You and I, we are individual. The I am is inside, And owning the I am is actually what I'd call nirvana. Seriously.
Oh, I'd love to have this conversation continue forever. And I'm absolutely, absolutely jealous for you to not be able to share that coffee, but that coffee is pending. If I ever turn up to Istanbul, you owe me coffee.
Of course. On the contrary, I'll take you for kahvaltı, because breakfast is a delicacy here, and it's totally elaborate. You have all the variations of vegetarian salads that are there. You have all the cheeses that are there. You have Turkish tea or Turkish coffee to have. So I would love an opportunity to take both of you out.
Food excites me to limit. So let's not start there. We'll
Start
have to have
saving up, and you just invited trouble.
Yeah, I invited friends, not trouble. Most welcome. I will say it in Turkish. Hoş geldiniz. Welcome, my friends.
Thank you very much, and for this beautiful experience, for this beautiful conversation.
Likewise,
and,
my friend.
Wish you all the success, everything that you wish. And
Thank
just
you.
remember that we're just on the other side of the world, here cheering for you, and we're just
Thank
with
you.
you. Just
Thank you,
remember that.
Rajiv. I
So
do
before we
remember
sign
that.
out,
Thank you.
before we
Bye-bye.
sign out, I want to say
Thank
one
you.
more time. And I had an
Yes.
experience with her Instagram account. I did put that up as a banner for somebody who did miss that out. We want you to go back and fetch for author Anne De Silva on Instagram and go back following her. God
Thank you
bless.
so much. Thank you. God bless you too.
I'll turn
Bye-bye.
off.